Hi, welcome to the Indie Wine Podcast. My name is Matt Wood, and this is episode 111. Andrew Sullivan from Unfiltered, and I recently traveled to Lodi to meet up with Jake Voignes of Heleje Wine Company. Jake runs Heleje with his wife Shauna, where together they make some great low-intervention wines. They moved here after succeeding as chefs in San Francisco at the highest levels. Jake also farms the two family vineyards, the Fernau Ranch and Hartwick Family Vineyard, where they live. On both, he's at the forefront of farming in Lodi, starting at organic but pushing through with regenerative practices and utilizing the products of the ranch to help further his goal. They supply fruit to at least 4 producers who have been on the podcast previously. Jake gave us a great tour of the vineyard, and you can hear most of that at the very end of the episode. The audio quality isn't super high because of the wind that rushes through the vineyard and some dry grass, but it'll give you great insight into the intricacies of what they're doing. On our way there, we stopped at the always great Lodi Visitor Center, which is a super place to pick up wines made by small Lodi producers or other small producers working with Lodi fruit. Everyone that works there is great too. Tickets for Unfiltered are on sale now. Festival is coming up soon, July 25th and 26th. You can get tickets at donkeyandgoat.com/unfiltered. 2 days of great winemakers pouring their wines, 3 wonderful panels each day. I'm doing one of them, and a chance to catch a few winemakers that you rarely see out in the wild. Hope you can make it. You can follow Andrew in the festival at Unfiltered Wine Festival. Reminder that I have a Patreon at patreon.com/indiewinepodcast. Link is also in the show notes. If you're enjoying the podcast, any amount to help me keep telling wine stories ad-free is super appreciated. It's all run independently and meant to be available for everyone. Last thing I want to do is put any sort of wall around access to the information. Telling a friend about the podcast, sharing about it on social media, or leaving a review are great, quick ways that always help out too. All right, thank you. Here we go.
And the labor guys that are helping us actually do a lot of the planting, I remember the third year, he came out just like, holy shit, it's growing. He's like, I didn't think it was going to make it. I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, they're so slow. And I think, they're so used to that formulaic, like you put it in, you pump it full of fertilizer, pump it full of water. The visitor center is amazing. They really have an amazing selection. They do so much to support a lot of the local growers as well as winemakers, which is cool.
I think it's amazing, and that you have these other areas. I talked a lot about this. Kind of my dream in Berkeley is I don't know of a shop that is anything close to comprehensive, like not even close to comprehensive, that even has like 100 of our local winemakers bottles on the shelf.
So we tried it. So this is now Gemini Bottle Shop, but we had local cellar when we had our restaurants in the Mission. And that was all California natural wines, craft beer, and spirits. I can't recall our total selection, but pretty good amount.
You're close, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's hard because, I remember when people weren't necessarily into California wine as much and they wanted European, and they kind of equated the quality of the restaurant with having European wines. And we had some guests come in and they sat down and they looked at the list and they go to get up and leave. And our restaurants were designed where the kitchen was open, and so it was like a sushi bar. And so as the chefs, and that was served directly to the guests in front of you. And our manager came over and started talking to him, and they're like, well, it's all California wine. We don't drink California. And he's like, okay, hold on. It's like, let me pour you a taste. And if you like it, I'd encourage you to stay with us. And if not, free to go. And it was a Charbono from Calder that Rory makes. And they tasted like, this isn't California. Like, no, it's Napa Valley. It's this Charbono, a pretty rare grape.
Yeah.
Makes a beautiful wine, and they ended up staying and having a great meal. But it was just getting them over that kind of like over the hump, as you will. It's like, no, like there's amazing California wines that hold up just as well to their European counterparts. You just got to try them and find them. Yeah. But I think there should be more of that for sure. And that's what's cool about the visitor center is like they have a huge array And it's not just Lodi wines, it's all from Lodi fruit. And they change up the lineup every week. And so you can go in and it's something different you're tasting every time. They do amazing outreach events, like where they'll have groups from abroad come through. They do educational classes. They do any number of things there. Like it's a cool resource for the community for sure.
Yeah, I really like that it has so many small producers also that maybe can't have a tasting room.
I mean, for us,
know.
People ask like, well, where can we get your wine? I'm like, go to the visitor center. Like that's the best spot right now.
Yeah. And I mean, and they have 4 or 5 of them there, I think, on the wall. And
not just us, like there's a lot of small producers where you can go in and almost their entire lineup's on the shelf somewhere, which is great.
Yeah. It's a pretty amazing resource, I feel like. And they're saying, I mean, even like a huge amount of local folks also shop there for wine, which is cool to have, not just out of town visitors coming in, but even have it as like a resource that people that are local really appreciate.
Well, it's cool too, because, a lot of the amazing wine producers, Napa Sonoma, that are buying Lodi fruit, if you're a local, you're probably never going to see where that goes. And they've got it at the visitor center. And so maybe your neighbor's vineyard and, this cool producer makes it elsewhere, and that's where you can go get it.
I'd love to hear a little bit about your kind of, career switch from, you're talking about, the kitchen and fine dining in San Francisco and kind of coming back to the land.
I mean, I guess it's kind of that full circle coming back. So, I grew up in the Valley and, I had a lot of family up in Amador. And so I was exposed to wine and wine culture since a child. And then food was always a big thing. And, I got into food in kind of a roundabout way. I was a snowboard rat.
Okay.
And I was working at Squaw Valley Palisades now, living in the hostel. And this whole crazy circumstance, the house we were moving into, the people getting evicted had a party, burned a hole in the roof. We couldn't move in. College was starting, and I was like, well, what am I going to do? And so I ended up moving back home into Folsom, my parents' house, and I needed a job. And my friend, his girlfriend was working at this restaurant at the time, and they're like, hey, we need a cook. Well, I could do that. I'd grown up around food. I cooked. My friend was at culinary school in San Francisco, so I had like a base knowledge of it. And so I jumped in, and it was not at all what I expected. It was this like exciting, I was 19, this like pirate ship of an existence where you've got this amazing crew of misfits all working together. And then one of the cooks, I remember the first kind of exposure to what fine dining would be, he had a Marco Pierre White's White Heat cookbook.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember looking through that and just being like, what is this? This is unreal. Like, this is art. This is food. He's looking like a rock star in the pictures. I was like, this is cool. All right, I could do this. And so that's kind of where it started. And then I moved to Santa Barbara, opened the Bacar Resort down there, which was this huge property in Goleta. Worked through the restaurants up to the fine dining. And that's really where like the wine and food connection came through, because they would do a lot of internal education with the staff. And so we would work with the somms, and they would pick a wine for the week, and then we would pair it with like either a cheese or a little bite, usually a cheese from that same region.
Okay.
Mostly European wines, and like the staff would taste through them, the cooks front of house and back of house. And then that was really kind of the Santa Barbara wine scene was just starting to get going at that point, like the early 2000s, and tasting some like Cool Climate Syrah from Santa Barbara was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And continuing that culinary journey, met Danielle Boulud, got the opportunity to go to New York, stage at Danielle. Never been to the East Coast, never been to New York. I was like, oh, okay, New York is awesome. I'm going to move there. And so like it just kind of kept going.
Yeah.
And then ended up in San Francisco, and kind of the passion for local food, working directly with farms, rolled into the wine world. And then we started drinking a lot after work at Terroir when that first opened.
Yeah.
And so then there's exposure to the natural wine side of things. And that was fascinating. And, we used to go in there as like Dig and Luke and Guillaume, and it'd just be like, what are we drinking tonight? And even before that, though, like I like to take the approach, I want to know more. And I find like wine really exciting because there's so much to learn about it.
Yeah, it's kind of a bottomless pit of
it's the culture, the history, the like food, like there's so many facets of it. And I find that because I just like to learn, and it's fascinating because you can never get bored of it. We used to go to A16 and sit at the bar because I wanted to learn about Italian wine. And it's like, and you'd just be like, okay, what should we taste tonight? I want to try something, and then they'd be like, oh, what do you like? And we're like, surprise us, what do you like? And I feel like that was a really fun experience of, being young in the culinary world. You're up till 3 a.m. every night, you're drinking, you're eating tons of food everywhere, you're hopping to restaurants, like, but it was all about kind of consuming those experiences and flavors. And it always kind of kept coming back to like the food and wine together seemed so integrated and seamless. So that as we move forward to open our own restaurants, that was a big component of, okay, let's celebrate these obscure local varieties and winemakers that are doing cool stuff here in California. And then just meeting those people, learning from them, talking to them, really kind of got the juices flowing of like, okay, this is something I could do. And it's like, okay, why is there not more of that in the valley? Why is there not more of that in the foothills? Why is there not more, like these are amazing places that can do this? And to some degree already were, but just was kind of flying under the radar.
Yeah, were you kind of those early producers, were they mostly kind of Sonoma, Napa, Santa Cruz based, or?
But like Gideon, we did a lot of like, Gideon up in Yuba, like that area, Hank, up in Amador, but mostly, North Bay, Mendocino. Yeah.
Yeah. Andrew, you kind of had like a similar, the wine and cheese pairing was kind of a formative experience for you.
I was kind of wondering, like you had a sort of hands-on culinary education. It seems like you went in,
no
school. So you went in, you learned in the kitchen.
You started at the bottom and you didn't step out of line and you just worked head down. Yeah.
No, totally. And I feel like your palate just starts to really get refined when you're in the kitchen like that, and you're constantly tasting and refining stuff. And I found that your palate actually gets better. You're really refined. So then wine kicks in, and how do you feel that your background in food, right, and all of the experimentation you did with those flavor profiles, new ingredients coming in, incorporating, and also cooking. I was telling Matt, it's like super stressful because you're constantly forced to innovate. You cannot, stick to your one hit wonder. You're constantly fighting against the young buck coming after you with,
you gotta do something new.
Charlie Trotter. Yeah. It's like infusing chemical, all the chemical stuff and everything. So how do you feel like that culinary background really is playing out in your wine right now, and your approach to agriculture, your approach to winemaking?
I think to the experimentation side of it with like, the vineyards, what we're trying to do there. My wife will say that she feels like I approach the grapes as ingredients. And as I'm thinking about making the wines. But the one interesting thing that I've really found is the time frames, the difference. So like, in the kitchen, it's about how fast you can get it to the table and you go, 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 go. To where here I'm doing things, and it took me a while to adjust, because shifting from that mindset of like immediacy to, okay, now I'm doing things I need to get done now, but I won't see any result for a year, 3 years, or 5 years. And to kind of wrap your head around that was quite a bit of a transition.
Yeah, like some of these vines that you're working with now, I mean, you have these experimental blocks. It's like in the best of circumstances, they're maybe going to be at their pinnacle of production when hopefully one of your kids takes over the vineyard.
And on the flip side, in the kitchen, you make a dish, you taste it, and it doesn't work. You scratch it and you move on. In this world we're in now with wine and vineyards, if these don't work out, we're not going to know for 5-10 years. And then you're like, okay, well, shift a different direction. But it's just kind of, it took me a bit to adjust to that mind frame of And like the routine too, there was a shift, especially when I left hospitality, because even when we were farming, I was still in hospitality. I worked at Wine and Roses. I was a banquet chef, and then moved into the F&B manager position, overseeing all the culinary outlets, and that still had its day-to-day rhythm. But within the last 2 years, when I started the wine brand, left hospitality in that capacity, that daily, you wake up, you have an objective, you go through the day, you accomplish it, you go home and you start again. That cycle that I'd been in for most of my life was different and didn't exist. And so then it's like, okay, wait, how do I like recalibrate myself to thrive in like this farm environment where there's always stuff to do. You're never accomplishing, like you're accomplishing, but you never have that like, all right, I accomplished what I needed to do today. The job is done.
Yeah.
Because it's never ending in farming. There's always more to do. And so that took a while adjusting to that as well. I feel like I still am to some degree.
Never exactly having like the completed checklist of tasks.
Yeah,
There's always
one of the
always
amazing
stuff
things
like
about
pending.
restaurants is you have your list for the day. You get your prep done, you get service, you roll into service, you do service, you clean up, and you walk out the door, and it's done. You accomplish it. You got that day out of the way, successfully or unsuccessfully, and then you start over the next day.
You gave us a super wonderful tour of both of the ranches that you're working with. 5 minutes ish away from each other, but do you want to talk a little bit more about your ideas behind the, I guess, where we're sitting now? You have orange muscat planted and have chosen to kind of work with it, where the other ranch, complete start from the bottom, from the dirt, fallow field and chemical free for a long time before that. And
yes, I mean, with Hartwick Vineyard, where we are at home, it had been into orange muscat. It had always been farmed Lodi Rural Sustainable from the inception. Stanton Lang, who planted it and was the manager, he was one of the founders of the Lodi Rules movement. And so it had always been farmed that way. But seeing what they did, it's a great program, but I wanted to take it even further. And so with For Now Ranch, we had the opportunity to take that idea and then have a clean slate essentially to start from, where we had the bare land that had nothing on it for 25 years, and no chemical inputs at all. And to start with like the idea of like, hey, we can establish something from the get-go without the use of synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, chemicals, any of that. Like it can just be this organic ground up. And that was a great learning experience, I think. And it allowed me to then transition the things that I learned from that experience to then applying it to transitioning the orange muscat over into fully regenerative, organic, and then planting the new vineyard block, essentially kind of clean slate again. But it's really interesting to see the difference between the two, having something that starts almost imbalanced from the beginning to where transitioning the muscat over, you're trying to kind of erode all of these, pre-emergents that were there, which take multiple years to degrade. You've each year got a different pest issue that pops up because they'd been hit for so long with all these different sprays to knock those pests down. And I think an overall vine that didn't have an immune system that could handle all those external pressures on its own.
Okay.
To where, kind of like I said earlier, I feel like we're just this year at a point where the vine is now in a place where it's in balance. The growth is in proportion to what the vine can handle itself. And, it seems like the immune system of the vine is there to where it's taking care of itself at this point.
Did you feel like that transition had to be, I guess, kind of a slower transition for that orange muscat, or do you kind of make a hard cut before or after?
Well, no, I did a hard cut. It just, each year there was something new.
Okay.
Like first it was noxious weeds popping up under vine because we're trying to break the berms down because you have these hard packed berms from where they would be tilling every year.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of the formula was you would alternate rows each year, heavily till one, cover crop the other, spray the berm. And so you had decades of these hard box shaped compact soil berms
Yeah.
under the vines. And so we used undervine blade to go through and break those up
Okay.
for multiple seasons. But in doing so, you've got like mare's tail, star thistle, like all these noxious weeds that thrive in cultivated soil. So then they're coming up. So then you're battling those every year. So after I was able to break those berms down, the goal then was let a shift of the grasses come in, stop cultivating undervine, let the grasses choke out any of the noxious weeds that were left, and hopefully by not cultivating, disturbing the soil, they're not going to be able to germinate. And then the grasses then choke them out. And then the grasses are much easier than to just go through and weed whack, or if like our chickens actually do an amazing job at digging them up and scratching. And so now we're at a really good place where the grasses have come in. I've got some really cool patches of native grass that are starting to spread into like the foxtails and other things. And so I'm hopeful in the next few years those will continue. I'm hand seeding crimson clover undervine also.
Okay.
To help kind of get those established and then push out any of the other ones I don't want. But yeah, I mean, then if it wasn't the noxious weeds, we had 2 years where like leaf hoppers were just rampant, and we were trying different things like diatomaceous earth because I didn't want to put any chemicals on them because I'm trying to build up the population of beneficial insects, and most of the chemicals they're just indiscriminate. They kill everything, good and bad. And so we had a couple of years where, I'd have winemakers like, you have some leaf hoppers this year, huh? And like the fruit would arrive in the winery and jumping out everywhere.
Okay. A little bit of whack-a-mole with like just what you're battling,
and then
while making that transition.
Last year, we got to a point where it's like, and no longer leaf hopper issues. Okay. And then this year we had some cordon death that we lost some positions.
Okay.
But I think that was the vine just naturally kind of like, okay, you're not fertilizing constantly. You're not, like I was doing compost, the livestock in there, but it's not like your classic heavy nitrogen, potassium mix going into it. And so I think naturally the vines just kind of reduce their volume of what they're producing. Some of it died off. And I mean, they're thriving out there right now.
I was going to say, could you describe like the change in the flavor profile of the grapes over time as you went from the break to...
It's concentrated a lot more. They hold on to more acid. I mean, it's actually really cool tasting through the gut grapes at like box sellers, because he's been making it's orange muscat goes into the gut grapes for the last 4 years, I believe it's been. And each year you taste it and it's more concentrated. It's more green tea. It's really interesting to see the transition from when they first started working with it to where it is now. And I feel like 2025, same. It's like, it's just really beautiful expression. You have the aromatics, you've got depth to it more so, to where before it was just like kind of orange blossom and it kind of fell off after that, to where more savory notes, more herbaceous notes. Same with like Chris up at Endino, Chris Walsh. Like he's been working with it for a while too. And I talked to him and he's like, "Oh, this year's muscat's amazing. It's like so good." So it's cool to like get the feedback from winemakers that have been working with it for a number of years, and what they're seeing in their own cellars of like, "Oh, this keeps getting better and better in correlation to what I'm seeing in the vineyard." Is validating. It's like, okay, I am on the right direction, because a lot of it is just reading and teaching myself and experimenting with the idea of like, I think this is going to work, and let's just try it and see.
You have so many winemakers that are doing like native yeast fermentations and everything like that. So I'm sure they must really notice when the fermentations seem more healthy and everything from the grapes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was wondering, you described the shift in your cooking career into. When did wine making come in, and who was kind of like your mentor there? Because you also didn't go to an ENV school or anything like that. This is all also hands on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, really just looking at a lot of the winemakers that we were friends with that we'd been selling fruit to, talking to them, seeing what they did in winemaking. And it's just that curiosity of, I think, being a chef and a cook is, it's like I've been selling the fruit, tasting their wines, trying, and, I'm like, well, I want to see what I can do with it too. And so the first year we had the Grenache block, a little Grenache with a little narrow, a little Coumoise. I was like, I'll make something out of it.
Yeah.
And so made one barrel, and it's a blend of Coumoise majority, and then a little narrow, a little Grenache. And it's like, oh, it's not terrible. Let's try it again next year. And so did a little bit more and, made some mistakes. Like I definitely dumped some wine in the vineyard.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like, well, that didn't turn out. And then it's, like the process of making something and aging it and checking on it. And it was just really intriguing. And, like I said earlier, it's always something like a direction I'd wanted to go. And I'd intended on doing it earlier, just never had the opportunity at the time because I was working full time, raising the family and trying to take care of these vineyards. And so when I got the opportunity where we make the wine now at Christopher Cellars, and Chris reached out and he's like, hey, like, I'd love for you to start a brand with me. And, kind of want access to some of the fruit you've got. Let's work something out. That it was kind of like a reality of like, wait, I could actually do this. And it, definitely scary to take that jump and, leave a stable job when you've got 3 kids. And
Sure.
but luckily my wife's super supportive and equally as crazy because she's from a culinary background.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
excited about it as well. And she's like, we could do this. Like, all right, let's go for it. And so that's kind of how we ended up where we are now. And we still cook a little bit. And, I think for what we want to do with our own wine brand moving forward, food is a large component of that. And will always be. So, we're working on a wine club, and one of the thoughts is like, well, we should include other things from the farm that we make. It's not just wine with like club shipments. I think that could be something unique and different, but it's also totally in our wheelhouse to do.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, you have the total capabilities of producing that.
Yeah. Yeah, and we hope to do more events, where we can have people out to the farm with the wines and meals. And, one of the things that I've been inspired by, which I'm just starting to go that direction more, is like school food programs.
Okay.
Brian and Steph Teresi Gironata, down in Paso, they do a lot of really cool programs with like schools.
Okay.
And pasta. They have a pasta company that they provide to a lot of school districts, and they do a lot of outreach in like Fresno, Bakersfield, where they're getting these students involved in agriculture and quality food at a young age, which I think is super important, and there should be more of. Like I have a cool idea, which I'm not sure how to apply it, but so many vineyards coming out in this Lodi area. I think it'd be really cool if someone were able to take one of their farms and transition it into a row crop farm that would supply, and maybe it starts out as just one school, or maybe it grows to a school district. And instead of just putting it into another commodity crop like almonds or walnuts or, any number of things, have a more dynamic use for that land, I think could be super cool. And we're just, it's something my wife and I talk about a lot, and trying to think like, okay, how can we get that ball rolling?
Yeah, I just saw an interesting thing, I think yesterday or the day before, about a program that pays fishermen it's basically like a fund to where when the price of fish at some of the day markets hits like a certain price, they'll buy it freeze the fillets for the school districts.
Oh, that's cool.
So that it like stabilizes the price basically. They keep it from from selling at too low of a price. So they don't buy it when it hits rock bottom. They buy it
like a sustainable
above that
price point for the
sustainable price point. So like people are still able to go out and fish and make money, but then the frozen fillets are then sent to the schools in the area.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And, it seemed like a really interesting program. And I think maybe First Generation Farms out in Brentwood maybe used to do something along the lines of what you were talking about, or maybe they had like kids from the nearby schools kind of like farm it one day a month or something like that, like certain field trips and
cool.
Some of the produce, I think, going to them. So,
because I mean, there's so many amazing farms around us, but it often doesn't reach the table of most kids, I think.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you get that experience, that access more seamlessly tied from like a young age? Like we're having little kids ourselves and seeing what their friends eat at school. And you're like, what? Really? And, they want all the junk. And you're like, no way, man.
Yeah. It's tough. It can be a battle.
That's one of the things I actually find really interesting about you and what you're doing here, which is we talked a little bit about bringing you down to cook and do a cooking event or something like that. And part of what inspired me was like, there aren't too many people who have this whole ecosystem linked the way you do. And you can source food, you understand food, you can cook it, you can pair it with the wine made from the grapes that you've grown. That is the farm to table, dream, basically. And I'm just trying to think, there aren't a lot of people that can do that. There are people that have the pieces, right?
Right.
But you've kind of created this little Eden.
I mean, I guess
food Eden.
We kind of dedicated, like my wife and I really dedicated our lives to food in many different ways. And I guess we also include wine in that category of food.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't necessarily see it different. It's an agriculture product. You grow it. It's the oldest technique for preserving food, or one of the oldest. And it's like, okay, well, it should be food, and more common as an everyday beverage. I think that's one of the intents with what we want to do with the brand too, is like kind of make it fun, make it approachable, make it an everyday type of experience, not something that's special occasion only, or but that's hard.
Yeah I think one thing that's super unique is you're working with so many grape varietals that you just don't see every day. And I mean, lots of really cool Italian grapes and a lot of things that people might be curious about trying, or maybe they've heard of the grape but are unfamiliar with how wine tastes from them. So I think it's really, really cool. You're able to kind of branch out and experiment, and still experimenting with some others.
Well, maybe that's how you get people back into wine, is get them something new and exciting they've never tasted before. Because that's, for me, I don't want to drink the same thing every day. I kind of equate it to like, you go to a restaurant, and how many people do you know that always get the same dish at the same restaurant they always go to? Why would you do that? Like, you have so many. It's a menu for a reason. Like, try something different. And I guess we approach, wine the same way. Is like, I don't want to drink the same thing over and over again. I want to taste something different, or even if it's a hot day, a cold day, what mood I'm in, whatever the circumstance, I want something different that kind of matches that. And I think what we're trying to do here is kind of find other options and exciting things and funky, weird, never heard of that, check it out. If you like Chardonnay, try this one. It's similar but different. It grows better here.
Any of the grapes that you grow that you're extra
super
excited about. That you feel like really have a.
I mean, the most
bright
recent,
future.
we have a new block of Verdejo,
Mm.
which I'm super pumped on. It's doing fantastic in the vineyard. We made a wine this year out of it that's partial skin contact, partial stainless steel. Tasting them individually, so different and unique and exciting. We blended them together and it created this wine that's got bright freshness, but then texture and depth from the skin contact. It's fourth leaf, so it's a really young vineyard, and I think the potential for it to really develop into something special is there. And I picked it because if you look at what it does in Spain, it's very versatile, and there's a lot of different styles and some super aged, like really old examples of it. And then there's a lot of super fresh, easy drinking, stainless steel, zippy, bright BTG restaurants. So like it's something that offers, and I think that's kind of coming from that culinary thinking of things as an ingredient. It's like, okay, this one varietal has so many possibilities of what we can do with it. And for me, that's exciting and fun. And I think Pickpool is another one.
Okay.
Like for Lodi, Pickpool, bright acid, super food friendly, just makes a really fresh, vibrant wine. Thrives in the heat, the climate here. The Narrow, same thing. I'm excited to see where that goes. I mean, it's hard because I'm excited at a lot of them. And I like really pinpoint like, which one you like the most.
Picking between your children.
Because like each one has some uniqueness, and like I think Claret Blanche on its own can be amazing. It's tricky in the cellar. It's really subtle, but like a really fun kind of enigmatic wine. One day I hope to do a single varietal bottling of it, but we're not there yet, just because when we taste them before blending and figuring out what we're doing, it's always like, there's something, this needs something. So, but also it's very intriguing for that reason.
I think for what I found really interesting with Lodi the last few years is that for a region really known for like red wines, like Old Vine Zinfandel, is the thing you most associate with Lodi generally, but there's really been like a white wine renaissance. I feel like here over, I'd say the last like 5 years or so, there's like really amazing white wines being made here, and often from unusual grapes. But yeah, I just love to see it.
Like I was telling you earlier, like Acquiesce, where Shauna works, they only do Rhone whites, and the wines are beautiful and nuanced and vibrant and like really fresh. And I think Sue was one of the pioneers of really showcasing what white wines in Lodi can be, which is inspiring. And like they've been great supporters of what we're trying to do, and like amazing people to kind of have as a resource just to talk about, like, oh, here's what we're thinking, and taste this, what do you think? And so it's been amazing there. And their wines are fantastic.
Who are the other people we were talking about? I mean, I grew up here, I'm a native, and we're all ironically we're all natives here, right? And Lodi was always the box wine. That's just the way I thought of it. I just thought Lodi box wine, and it was only recently that I started seeing Lodi as like great grapes were coming out of Lodi, great wines were coming out of Lodi. Who else out here is doing? I mean, obviously you came here because of the family had the farm here.
That was a key component.
That was a key thing. But who else? Is there somebody that you're working or inspiring you, or other growers out here that are doing interesting things?
I mean, there's a lot of small growers that are doing the really cool under the radar projects, like Nico Teresi down the road. He's got Fiano, he's got some Nero. He's recently grafted over into those Italian varietals. Kind of similar, like his family had the vineyards and it was mostly Petit Sirah Zen. And he transitioned it to regenerative, and then started to find like, okay, this isn't really what we want to be doing. Like, let's shift. And he's got some really fun stuff. I mean, the Bocashes, when they first came, really established Spanish varietals here.
Yeah.
And have done amazingly with that. And I think Graciano, they were the first ones to bring Graciano into the U.S.
Oh, were they really?
I believe
Okay.
so. Yeah, and
Yeah.
they're their home vineyards just down the road.
Mhm.
They're at that Oxbow.
Yeah.
Seeing what Tegan's doing is really cool with the Kirschman and Jeff and John Pelagos, the Call Me Glen. The idea that there's German and Austrian varietals in Lodi. Like, who would think? And to taste the wines made from them, they're like delicious. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. I think Marcus Nigli makes some really awesome wines too. He's
Yeah.
done some great stuff.
Another white wine kind of focused producer. I know he does. He has reds.
Yeah, because
but
reds
I
are
kind of,
also like
yeah.
really beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot, like, but mostly it's small, and it's kind of neat too though. Some of the bigger, more established Lodi producers are starting to experiment with lower alcohol,
Hmm.
fresher versions of Zinfandel or other varietals. Cinsault, you see a lot of Cinsault being grown and made into like beautiful wines. And so I think it's an exciting time for Lodi. Like, we've been at some grower kind of just hangouts where everyone brings bottles to taste, and to see some of these guys that are multiple generations, they establish big red wine producers, looking at native ferments, looking at organic farming, looking at lighter extraction.
Mhm.
And I see that as a really positive thing moving forward, because they're the ones that really have the bandwidth. They could push a change.
Mhm.
With small guys, it's a little harder to push, especially like the ag, because there's so many acres here, to where, an acre or two of grapes for us is a lot of wine it produces. And so we're not making a big impact on the overall farming of the area. But you get some of these big guys that are putting out thousands of cases,
Mhm.
like Leadbetters as an example. Like, they're shifting, like the bench is certified regenerative,
Okay.
biodynamic on a large scale. And I think we need more of that to happen to really make an impact and save a lot of the vineyards around here. Because I truly believe that's the future and where it needs to go. And I think the sustainability component. But if those big, I guess not big, but like medium-sized
Mhm.
producers that can control that larger volume of transition, I see like that's going to make a real impact.
Kind of pushing beyond like the Lodi rules into further
Yeah.
reaches of
Yeah.
viticulture.
Yeah, because when you're transitioning over thousands of acres to organic and regenerative and increasing biodiversity, I mean, that not only impacts that one field, like those are impacts that are going to reverberate throughout the area, I think.
Mhm.
Was there somebody that you were looking to? I mean, you chose not to spray,
Mhm.
right? And that's like a pretty big risk when everybody around you spray. Was there anybody you were looking to, or was this just an instinct that you had that you thought you didn't need to
Just
spray?
an instinct.
Just an
Yeah.
instinct, yeah.
I wanted, like, we're at that kind of safe to fail point, and I wanted a baseline. It's like, okay, if we don't do anything, spraying, like, what's going to happen? Where are we at? And then we'll observe it, and then we'll try it again. And, and I don't want to be dogmatic about it either. Like, if something pops up, I'm going to address it. Like, I don't want, like our wines, like I put sulfur in the wine
Mhm.
because I want to make a clean wine. I want something stable. I don't want, but it's minimal, and it's based off of analysis we're doing regularly to see where the wines are at, looking at pH, looking at break, like all the factors, and then making decisions of like, okay, we're going to give a small dose here, or this one maybe needs a little bit more.
Mhm.
But kind of going back to the spring, it's like, it's just kind of like, hey, let's see how this operates without it. Because you think back pre-industrial revolution farming, people didn't really spray. Like, they would use sulfur and things, but like most of these chemicals that are used now in commercial agriculture just didn't exist.
Mhm.
And somehow they produce food and wine for thousands of years. Sure, it was more labor intensive, but it's doable.
Mhm.
So kind of
Yeah, it
That's
seems
kind
like
of
where
the
you're, I
impetus
mean,
from it. Yeah.
where you're located and everything. I mean, you've had like
Yeah, I mean,
consistent
we're
wind
fortunate.
all day
It's constantly
here, and
windy. We have lots of sun. We don't have fog. We don't have high humidity, and that definitely contributes to us to be able to experiment in that way.
yeah, it seems like, I guess, yeah. Was there anybody in general when you planted the Fernal Ranch? Was there anybody that you kind of took any other inspiration from, or it doesn't seem like too many people were maybe doing that type of viticulture around you, though, either?
No, it was. I mean, it was kind of just an idea I wanted to try, and I was fortunate. Um, there were a couple guys that helped us with the farming. Charlie Starr and Mark Shimazaki that are local.
Mm.
One's a PCA, one's retired, and they had a lot of years and like very intelligent people.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd been farming Lode rules and, kind of conventionally on a large scale. And they were an amazing resource to bounce stuff off of. And for them, they were like, well, all these things you're wanting to do, like, don't know anything about that. Like, that's
Okay.
not our wheelhouse. But
Uh-huh.
if you want to try it, like, we'll help. And so, sometimes I'd have like something pop up on the leaf and I could take a picture and
Yeah.
say, you know what this is? Or, oh, can you like walk the vineyard with me and give me some advice on this? And that was an amazing resource to have. And, even Charlie still sometimes I'll find a bug that I haven't seen before and
Okay.
I'll send him a text. I'm like, do you know what this is? Like, and I think for them it was cool because I was like the crazy guy experimenting with new things, and they could kind of watch and kind of help shepherd me down my rabbit hole I was going down.
Make sure you don't walk off the cliff.
Yeah.
Put you back on the path.
Yeah. But no, really, like, because I didn't like I'd been to a few vineyards, but a lot of kind of other like kind of some of the bigger name vineyards out there hadn't really had a chance to go visit.
Mhm.
I mean, I think like Randy Caparoso connected me with Jason Haas
Okay.
a couple of years back. Like we'd already put the vineyard in and been farming it, but we were able to go and meet with him, and he gave us an amazing tour. Like it was amazing. Like he took the
Yeah.
time. It's like him and his dog and us and the kids, and we walked everywhere. And
Wow.
like, he was showing kids fossils in the sandstone, and
Oh, cool.
but it was
So cool.
I really enjoyed talking to him because some of the things that they were doing were similar to the things I was doing. And it was validating to someone who's so established and doing amazing work, also thinking in a similar line to where I was kind of doing it and just like, well, I think this makes sense. I don't know. We'll figure this out. And then he's doing, taking it to the next step and even beyond with what they're doing out there. And so that was a really great experience, I think, to see. And then at Shake Ridge too, like Ann Kramer, same thing. Like going up to visit her.
Yeah.
And seeing what she's done in the foothills.
That's pretty amazing vineyard to walk.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Very inspiring vineyard.
Yeah. But those were kind of after I'd already started the project.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's always good to get out there and try to see new stuff now and then see if it's either something that can be applied in what I'm trying to do here, or it almost validates some of the early decisions I made, or kind of guesswork. It's like, oh, that actually other people are doing it too. Cool. Like, but yeah, it's fun.
Seems like a big part of your kind of goal here is like a zero footprint, operation. You put a lot of time, thought, energy, and probably some trials and errors.
I mean, there's always going to be some
like your
sort
pump
of
failing at one point.
Yeah. But yeah, we're trying to be as sustainable as possible, use as little energy as possible. Between the solar, the off-grid solar pump for the irrigating at Fresno Ranch,
Mm-hmm.
We still do tractors and diesel, and It's kind of essential at this point in the game. One day maybe not, but I think it's a big component moving forward too with like the farming. Is just really being conscious about what type of footprint you leave. Like with our bottles, like the cork is a small example, but it's all uh, natural cork with organic vegetable polymer that binds it. And so I think, trying to, maybe the paper at some point down the road will find a source that's got nice paper that's recycled. And I know there's some progress in recycled bottles. That's something we're definitely interested in. But if we're working as hard as we can in the vineyard and farming side, we also want that to translate through the product, the bottles, the corks, so as that continues to develop, I think we'll hopefully follow that.
Yeah, and that light touch and the farming, trying to eliminate sprays and everything. I mean, do you have family living on both ranches?
Yeah.
Houses, so like, kids out in the vineyard and people you care about in the vineyard. So
yeah, I mean, if it's because have you ever walked out into a vineyard after it's been sulfured? Or I remember the first time, even it's not immediately, but like the next day, and you walk in and you're like, oh, what is? And it feels like this almost suffocating kind of a experience. And it's like, I don't want that anymore. And especially having the kids, you don't want them around. Like they're exposed to on a day-to-day basis so many things in the world. Like at home, if you can try to mitigate as much as possible, I think that's important. Yeah. But if you can't roll around in it without any clothes on, then shouldn't be doing it.
Can you talk a little bit about kind of the winemaking and what you're aiming for with the wines? I know you said something that can kind of be drank, every day, but
so just like really fresh expressions of the grapes. Not always single varietal. We do quite a few blends, and I think that's because a lot of these varietals do lend themselves well as an ingredient in that blend, even more so than on their own sometimes. But really, our goal is to just kind of, we started out super small, like we had 300 case production with a little bit here, like ton here, ton there. And it's like, okay, let's see what we can make at first. And I think we're still in that phase of like, let's see what these grapes can give us, what they're going to be like on their own. And then we'll taste, we'll blend, we like them better blended. That's the direction we go. Maybe this one's great on its own. We'll keep that way. But I think, probably for the next couple of years, we'll continue with that experimentation of, let's just see what these are going to do, what we like out of them. And, with all the new varietals out there too, like there's stuff we don't even know what it's going to taste like in the bottle.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, but I mean, ultimately, we want wines that are going to be vibrant, fresh, on their own delicious, but then with food really coming into their own. I think that food wine combination is so key. And, we drink wine every day, and it's something that with food, it really changes and jumps and it gets exciting. And I think we want to continue to make wines like that you taste them and you're like, oh, this is super, super fun. And then a bite of something with it and you're like, whoa, wait, that just went to a different level.
Yeah.
You said you foot tread?
So it depends on what it is, but most of them will foot tread. And then whites, most of them direct press. This year we added stainless steel in 25 to where 24 was all barrel fermented in neutral French oak.
So it's the 24 or 25 here.
So the Muscat blend here is 24, and then the Carbonic's 25.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, both really.
Yep.
And that has a portion of the Morneo in it. But it's still like we're in that experimentation phase still with it too. It's kind of seeing what the vineyard's going to give us each year, and then kind of through intuition, through just having an idea, like where do we want this to go? Let's try this out. I'm excited for 26 this year. Shauna is going to make a wine herself all the way through. Like she's been a big component of it. Every vintage and tasting and harvest, like, but she wants to do one on her own, which would be cool to see what she chooses and how she wants to make that.
Yeah,
because she's got an amazing palate, and so I think it'll be fun to see where she goes with it.
It seems like you also have the ability to talk to somms and chefs because of that background. Like you understand what they're looking for. You're understanding what reacts with the food.
I mean, it helps when you've been on the buying side for a long time. And pairings, like that was one thing that was cool with our restaurants and like local mission eatery. Like we did once a month winemaker dinners, and just having that experience of tasting wine, pairing a menu with it, seeing how the flavors come, because it doesn't work every time. Sometimes you think it's great, and then the guest or the winemaker tastes it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that was a miss." Like, oh, okay, well, but you learn from it and you move forward, and that I think helps us in the cellar kind of think about where we want the wines to be, almost like a reverse engineering of it. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Now we're selling wine, which is its own beast, and going into it, initially, like, because my wife had never been on the purchasing side, and like sitting down with portfolio managers or reps coming through, and that experience, and the first few weeks we did it, and you go to 10 places and maybe one person tastes, and she was getting really discouraged. And I was like, look, like if we get 1 out of 10, like that's actually, we're doing really good. Like, she's like, really? I'm like, yeah, like it's a hard game. Like, and so we try to make it, it's kind of funny. It's like our date night.
Okay.
But during the daytime for lunch, because like, we don't have a lot of free time. We've got 3 small kids. We've got the farms, the work, like, so not a lot of alone time for us to go out to dinner. But when we're selling wine, we'll go to lunch. And it's just the two of us, and so it's actually been really nice to have that experience. We recently took a trip to San Diego.
Okay.
And it was like a Christmas present. We were supposed to go to New York, and then this big storm hits. We're like, oh, let's go to San Diego. She's like, well, let's take some wine. We'll see if we can get a couple of accounts. And like, we got in one spot, cold call, and Vino Carta, like met then with Patrick, and he loved the wines and like brought in a few. And she's like, let's go here now. Let's go. But it's super fun to kind of bounce around. And, being from the restaurant world, we'd been out of the game for so long. There's so many new places. And so it's cool because now we're discovering all these new restaurants that we didn't know about, just from a different perspective. So that's our new challenge and experience, but we're trying to make it a fun experience too. Yeah.
Keep it lighthearted a little bit.
Yeah, because I think it's if going to 10 places and only one person, like it's easy to get down on yourself. Like it's hard, but if you're like, no, like it is what it is. Like let's just keep pushing and make it fun. Eat some good food while we're doing it. Meet some cool people, and it's the end of the game. Yeah.
I mean, it seems to me like that's one of the interesting things that, not to drill down even further, but it's kind of like that whole, if people talk about making, wines that go well with foods, right? You hear that all the time. Oh, it pairs, that's what it's made for. But you have a different kind of understanding of what that means. And that's what I think. And you also have a different relationship to the industry, right? And so when you talk about like selling these wines or getting these wines into those places. It seems like you have an advantage because of your experience, because of your knowledge, and because of when you're tasting this, you're thinking ingredient, right? What does
Right.
it go with? Where and when would this go with something,
Yeah.
right? That conversation to me is really interesting because of the how it's usually decoupled, right? The winemaker's over here talking about how it goes with food. Chef's over here saying, I want wines to go with food, but you're in that very unique spot of having that experience. And so I can see this, the direct line from the farm to the restaurant in a way that's hard to see for a lot of other people.
And I think for us too, like as we're figuring out the selling and marketing now, which is a whole different world for us, there's a learning curve of like, where do we want the wines to be also? And I think for us, it's more restaurants. Like that's our wheelhouse. That's our experience growing up. That's how I think we want people to experience the wines too. I mean, it'd be, great if it's in a shop and someone brought it home, but I think you lose some of the context around it to where in that restaurant, when you're enjoying it with food and friends in a beautiful space, like that's its own special experience. And having, because at first it's like, we just got to sell the wine. And then you start like going down different paths and you're like, well, I like that way. I don't know about this. And one amazing thing we were fortunate enough to do, like right away, we did a house wine for a restaurant in LA.
Okay.
Little Ripper. They're a small in Glassell Park, Australian coffee shop turned natural wine bar at night. And they're friends of friends. And so we met them. They came up, tasted through. And so we did a house wine program for them. And it was all custom blends, one-offs just for them, special labels. And it was like, that was super fun. And it spoke to us because it was, we've been on the other side of that. And we understand the restaurant dynamic. And now we're producing this and it's represented for, in their brand, but we're still part of that. And then you're doing events with them and you build a new relationship, your new friends. And so we did it again this year. We did Perpetu in the Mission house wine program for them. And, each one's different. And, for them, their labels are super vibrant and tropical and in the native language Chamorro, which is amazing. And that part's been super fun. And, I want to continue that moving forward because it's not just creating a product at that point. Like we're building relationships. We're reaching an entirely new audience of people through that restaurant. And, it's still like a collaborative. It's still like their thing, but we help get it to them and create that for them, which is, I think, super, super cool. And so that's been a fun one. And I think also helped us kind of realize like just that connection to the restaurant world is where we see this going forward. Yeah. Another fun thing we did, we've done a few of them. We kind of call it Heleje at Home, where we do kind of tasting group experiences in people's homes.
Okay.
But it's food and it's us. We pair the food. It's, 10, 12 people. You sit down and do a guided tasting experience. Similar, like when we were at the fifth floor, Emily Wines would do these amazing training courses where she'd have glasses with all aromas and you could train your sensory perception of like, oh, this is what rocks in a wine glass. And, and we do that with the guests at these events. And it's super fun because most people have never had that experience before. And they're also like, rocks in a glass, what? And then they smell it and then they smell the wine and like, wait, I get that. And having those aha moments, but then it's also such a kind of intimate experience that most people feel super comfortable. They ask a lot of questions. And those have been really fun too, because, and a lot of it's with people that aren't big wine drinkers or that don't know a lot about wine. And it's been really fun to be able to see the excitement and those kind of aha moments of like, oh, I actually smell that, or oh, this is delicious, or and kind of going back to the question you had about like the different varietals, and most of these people have never heard of anything we're pouring them.
Right. Maybe some Grenache. And then beyond that,
they've been really fun experiences where you come away from it and the people have a great time. They learn something. They had a great hang with their friends, and so that's kind of another avenue we're exploring. Kind of the idea came about of like, well, this is also like food, wine, hospitality. Like this is the backbone of what we've done in our careers. Like we can just do this on a small scale for people. Just meet them in their home. So,
do you see that maybe as part of this circle that keeps turning upon itself? Like you went out back to the farm, and now you're kind of coming back out a little bit, back into the restaurant world to figure in a different way.
It feels that way, yeah. Because especially,
way.
You leave San Francisco where you've been a chef, and for almost
a high-profile chef, not just.
And then we came to the farm, and it started a family, so we had little kids. And then COVID hits and the world shuts down. So then there's really nowhere even to go for a while. And it was weird. Like I think the first time we went back to San Francisco was like 4 years after we left.
Oh wow, that long. Yeah.
And living here too, like there's not a lot of places to go, and so people are like, oh, you guys go out all the time. And we joked I think we had a period of time where we didn't go out to dinner for almost 3 years.
Oh,
just because we had little kids at home. And I think it was a different phase in our lives. Like for a long time, we ate out 5 days a week, if not more.
Yeah.
And then, now we're at home, we have the farm, like we both can cook. So it was like, we'll just chill at home, make some food. Like it's, and so, now we're full circle kind of re-emerging back out into the world. And it's been great. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah. A lot of time on the road. We've been like LA quite a bit recently, and but it's been a lot of fun. So we're trying to find time to just do that more, and bring the kids with us, integrate them as part of it. Like we were recently, it was our spring break. We went camping down to Santa Barbara for a couple of days, and then we had Friday night and a Saturday night event in LA, or a Saturday day event. And the one on Friday was at Little Ripper, and it's very family friendly. And so we're like, let's bring the kids with us. And at first they're like, oh, we don't want to go. And, with the intention of hopefully one of them will continue this moving forward, they're involved in the farming side. We bring them out for harvest. They crush grapes. They go to the winery and help me do punch downs. But the selling is equally as important, and seeing that side of the business. And like they hear about us doing things, but they never get to come. And so we're like, we want you guys to come see what we do.
Yeah.
And it was really cool because about halfway through the night we did like flights, and they had lamb burgers, and great crowd. It was super fun. And the kids started to be like, can I go talk to that table? I want to tell them about the vineyard. Like, yeah, come on over. And the guests were like, wait, which, and with the name, we explained like Henry, Leo, Gemma. And they're like, well, which one is this? Like, oh, this is Leo. Like, oh, yeah, it's Gemma. Okay, cool. And they'd ask the kids questions, and the kids would talk to them and meet them. And then we went back the next morning for breakfast, and the wines are on the shelf and in the case. And they're like, they have our wines still. Well, yeah, they're like selling them. They're like, wait, they're selling our wines too? I'm like, yeah, man. And you could kind of see like that, like connect the dot moment of like, oh wait, that's cool. All right. And so that was pretty amazing to get him exposed to that. And so we're trying to figure out ways to do that a little bit more with them, so they
You're gonna
understand.
You're gonna set up a stand on the road that sells the wine.
Lemonade stand.
Lemonade stand.
Take it to the next level.
Different approach.
This is a bit under the counter lemonade.
Right, exactly.
So that was a really fun thing to kind of get them to see the whole picture of not just the farming, winemaking, but also how it then is enjoyed by other people. Yeah.
Yeah. What happens to it once it leaves
Yeah.
here? Kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a big, and it's funny too because I think we're just also wrapping our head around it, like because so long we've been focused on like the farm, then make. It's like okay, now the marketing, the selling, like that's a huge piece of it, and very outside of what we're used to doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're navigating that one as we go, and we don't, you know, and I'm very optimistic. You know, like the state of the wine industry right now, it's not great, as we all know. But I think there's a lot of opportunity for change.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we're fortunate enough to be in a position where it's at its most, I'm trying to think of the right word, like, you know, it's almost like destroyed itself and it's
Hmm.
going to be rebirthed
Gonna re-
in some way. And if we can somehow be a little part of like that change and the direction it goes, I think that's an amazing opportunity. Um, and exciting too.
Yeah, it's really good to hear what you said earlier about, some of the larger Lodi producers, kind of starting to take maybe a little lighter touch in the vineyard
Hmm.
and in the winery. So like where maybe the older way that they were working isn't what consumers are looking for as much.
Right. For a long time they were,
Yeah.
and it's just shifted.
Hmm.
And so some people, you know, for whatever reason aren't changing or can't. But to see people that have been in it for a long time kind of be like, all right, we need to change. We need to do this in a very positive way. I think super exciting.
Yeah, I think it's been one of the maybe one of the changes you've seen with just kind of natural wine as a whole, where
Hmm.
sometimes, if nothing else, it makes people just like stop and or like pause and kind of like reconsider what they're doing, and maybe some do that and then keep doing what they were doing, but then others maybe they kind of experiment or like, well, we could try this year.
Yeah.
Maybe we could try it a native fermentation if as long as we have some yeast standing by just in case,
Right.
or, and then, some people stay on one path and some people jump off to a new path.
How would, like, as a restaurateur, how would you, like, if you had to create, because I think I agree with you. Like, there is this like Phoenix moment,
Hmm.
things have imploded, the big labels are going down, people are looking for different, varietals, something new, fresh. Price points are really interesting too. But if you just started from scratch and said, I'm going to do a restaurant and I'm going to incorporate wine this way and this new vision of how wine should play out in the restaurant, what would you do differently? What would be different about the wine list? Maybe about the way it was integrated. Like, how would you think about it differently as part of a food program? Because we talked earlier about like the
Yeah.
California
Yeah.
stigma, right? Like
Yeah.
when you had that great example of like, oh, yeah, a couple comes into the restaurant, it's California wine, I'm out, right? And then they taste it, they're like, wow. So there's that, right? And then there's also this interplay that you're talking about. I think the way your labels are.
I think it's hard. It's hard because I also truthfully enjoy European wines. I love, or not even European, like there's some awesome Australian stuff, New Zealand, like from all over. Like
Hmm.
it's exciting and there's a lot of that out there. But I think right now more than it used to be too though, there's a lot of really cool small producers that are making super exciting wines in California. And to try to find, I think it would be some sort of balance where you have, because I mean we tried it like at our restaurants in Mission, like it was only California natural wines. And there was a lot of great stuff, but there's just some categories that you miss on. And so maybe it's, you know, a small rotating list that's changing out where you try to keep a higher percentage of local wines, but still showcase European or old world counterpart. I had an idea that could be really fun too. Is like this was something I was trying to apply here, and it just never came to fruition. Where you would have the winemaker of a local winery showcasing their wine, but then pair it with like an old world wine that they're inspired by. As you know, you could get like a flight or side by side comparison, or even just by the glass or something like that, to where you're showcasing the local producer, but then you're also having this amazing other product that that local producer may have been inspired by, or oh, we've got old world like a Burgundy, right? Like this amazing Burgundy producer that this guy in California making natural Pinot on the coast actually worked at, and have those connections. I think it's a really cool way to do it. But you'd have to have a really small condensed list to be able to do that. And there's a lot of staff training, and because that's not something that guests are going to see right away. That's, you got to have those conversations at the table, but really quickly, because so it's tricky. But I see that as exciting if I were to go that route. Yeah. And like small, small food menu too, that's like really hyper paired with those wines. But it's also tricky because I feel like that's a very targeted audience too, though. So
it's interesting. We were talking about like this whole thing, everybody talks about, basically wine sitting in the context of other things that grow around that wine. And you see that all over Europe. I mean, I'm going through France, and it's like they are drinking their local wines. They drink their local wines. You don't walk in there and go like, "Oh, this California wine's great. It's new, it's exciting."
Right, but we're in California where there's so much that grows here. Like it's truly a melting pot, right? Like if you look at culturally, food culture, wine, like so in those old established regions where you have that, like that's amazing. But I don't think we could ever have it in California because inherently we are this melting pot. And so I think trying to
the abundance problem.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much. I mean, what is California cuisine? To each person, I feel like it's something different, right? Like it's hard to pinpoint. Like people have said, like, oh, locally sourced and this and that, but like if you're a migrant group, like a Hmong farmer, your experience of what California cuisine is going to be completely different than you and I. And that's valid. I mean, that's their cuisine grown in California, and that's their community, and it's locally sourced and it's locally grown. Totally different than what other people would eat. Or Latin American, like same thing. Like, Mexican American, like there's so many different cultures here that I think it's hard to just put a label of California cuisine anymore. And they're all great. Like there's amazing food everywhere in California. So to kind of go into that, I think it's hard to just say like it grows here, it pairs well, because in California there's so much that is great. That makes sense.
I mean, this is a part of our conversation of like, what is California wine? We had the same thing, which is like, you said, what is California cuisine? We've been saying like, what is California wine? Right. I mean, when again, growing up, you kind of had an easier definition of it. You had some big cabs and, big shards, and
right.
It was kind of like, that's what you thought of at least, right?
Well, I mean, like take Lodi as a small example of California wine. You've got West Side, Old Vine, Head Train, Senso, Zin, Mataro. Over here, you've got Rhone Whites. Over there, you've got Austrian and German varietals. Over here, you've got Portuguese and Spanish. Like, and that's just Lodi. Like,
yeah, and Lodi also has, I mean, small, such some very tiny, small producers, and then some of the largest in the state.
Yeah,
also kind of unique to Lodi. Like you don't have that problem in like Santa Cruz,
right?
Say they're like producers sort of only get so large there, and Lodi has some acreage and some very large producers, and then very small producers. Also like what you guys are doing, or the Perlagos, or some of the some of the kind of 1 and two-person
Mhm.
shops.
But I think it
around.
is hard to like put an umbrella label on anything these days because there is so much dynamic in each area. Like it's exciting too, though. It is challenging.
You can almost grow anything, right?
Yeah.
It's the thing. Yeah. I
Yeah.
also had a question about you and Shauna. It's so interesting to me because I think of like cooks, chefs, cooks, and bakers. Pastries are so different in a way. It's like super exact in the baking part of things. It's like you can't. I mean, there's creativity out there, but there's definitely a lot of chemistry going on, right? And you're done over on the chef side. You can kind of play with things a little bit. So there's like a personality thing, and that relationship that you've cultivated now is moving into the wine and farming world. Could you talk a little bit about that?
It's hard to say without her being here.
Well, it's your opportunity.
No, I think she's kind of an anomaly when it comes to bakers. Like, we often talk about how our cooking style is very much like you cook by feel and intuition. And that's how she approaches baking also. And it's very different than most. And I think sometimes it worked out great and other times not because there is inconsistency. But I think sometimes the inconsistency should be celebrated more and then not seen as and I think kind of going off on a little side thing, I think often too many people want the consistent same thing over and over and over again. And to me, and I think to her, that's no longer exciting because it's the same thing over and over and over again. But if it's a progression, it evolves, maybe it dips a little bit and comes back up, like that stays exciting and intriguing.
Yeah.
And when you're cooking and making wine and kind of living in that way, there's some unknowns, there's questions that pop up, but I think on a whole, it's just more exciting and intriguing and fulfilling going forward. But yeah, so I think that's kind of how we approach life. Is like there's challenges, there's peaks and valleys, and same with food or with baking, and embrace them and celebrate them instead of seeing them as a negative. That answers your question.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of unique for a baker. I mean, from my experience.
She actually went to culinary school through the savory culinary program because she knew she wanted to do pastry and probably wouldn't learn the fundamentals of savory if she didn't study that first. And so she does. Her initial training background is of traditional culinary, and then she went into pastry as an extern, and that's where we met at the fifth floor. She was a pastry extern and then worked in the pastry kitchen. And so she approaches, I think, a pastry chef position from a different perspective than most also.
Right.
Yeah.
Which lends itself to wine really well too. I mean, it's a very, at least this type of what we're talking about here.
That's what I'm saying. I'm excited to see what she's going to want to do this year. Because there's a lot of fun options out there for her to choose from and see like what speaks to her.
Yeah, a lot of different types of blends that
could be a single varietal, it could be a blend, it could be anything.
Yeah, a lot of interesting choices you have planted. I think you were saying earlier 22
varieties
22
at this time.
as we sit here today.
Yeah, anywhere from 7 acres to I think the smallest I have is 4 vines of one. Yeah.
Okay. Some of those experimental blocks, the goal of those is to take a little bit of the Muscat acreage
the goal
at some
would be
point
to
as you find some that
kind of
work
see
well.
which ones really speak to us, and then take a larger portion of or a small portion of the Muscat out of production and then top work it over into those. Yeah. And hopefully by next year, I'll be able to start that project.
Okay.
2027.
It's funny. I was thinking as you were talking about Shauna's experiment here that the same thing you had with Chris from End of Nowhere, where he had sourced grapes from, you both were using the same grapes and they were manifesting in really different ways. I was kind of thinking of Megan and Ryan and the his and hers Vermentinos they do,
Mhm.
like kind of be interesting to see how you would work with the same grapes and producing
Yeah,
completely
I mean
different.
that's definitely on the table if we wanted to do a his or hers, but I also want to leave it open ended. Like if something really speaks to her and she's like, I'm actually excited about this, and it's not something that we're making otherwise, like go for it. Let's see where it goes. Yeah.
Mhm. I kind of asked this question to a lot of winemakers, but probably ask it to you in reverse. But what do you kind of look for in a winemaking partner, or the folks you're selling grapes to? Because there's a lot of good producers that are working with your fruit also.
Hmm.
How does that kind of relationship go for you? What are you looking for? And
I mean, I think just generally a good person to
okay,
work with,
yeah,
and clear communication lines, like, having open conversations about what they're looking for, quantities, and, I mean, honestly, everyone's struggling. Like, just say things are rough right now. We'll work this out. We'll get it to you later. Or, just really having those conversations and being open is a key.
hmm
And I think, moving beyond that, it's like people that are going to make fun, exciting wines that I'm excited to drink out of the fruit too.
hmm
Like one of the things I've talked about, but I haven't been able to pull the trigger on, would be an orange muscat event here,
okay,
which is weird and wacky because no
yeah,
one ever thinks of even drinking orange muscat, let alone having an event based around it. But there's so many producers that work with this fruit that do so many different things.
hmm
Like the guys at Purity that work out of there,
yeah,
there's so many small wineries that are making piquettes, sparkling, orange wines, direct press, and they're all completely different.
yeah.
And I think it's super fun. And it would be amazing to have an event where everyone could come out and you could taste this whole range of wines from the one grape because they're
hmm
all so different. But would people come? I don't know. I mean, it's, at events, we've been doing a lot of events lately, pouring, and everyone's like, oh, I don't like sweet wine. Like, well, no, this isn't sweet, actually.
yeah.
They're like, what? Orange muscat is sweet. I'm like, no, this just traditionally, a lot of people make it that way. But on its own, like, it can be a dry wine that's beautiful and unique. And,
I feel
um,
like you could do some really cool like food pairings
oh, yeah, with
with it
like
if you. I
spicy
mean, if you did
foods,
something like
yeah,
that, like
or sushi, even. Like,
it's kind of the feels like it's kind of an open world almost, because I think some of them that I've had do have like maybe even like that perception of sweetness,
mhm.
um, or yeah,
Yeah, it's
like you
like the
said, like
fruit and the
sparkling,
aromatics.
and there's so many different ways it feels like that you could go with some food pairings if you did have a festival or something
Yeah.
like that.
No, I think it could
Yeah,
be super
fun to
fun.
cook
It's
for.
just kind of working out the logistics and marketing of like how to get people out to kind of wrap their head around the idea of it.
Yeah.
We'll see one of these days.
Have you
I
had
keep
Nat's
working on it.
spark? I call it sparkling musk crack because it's so damn good. Yeah.
Which one is it?
The Nat Wong's his
No, I
okay,
haven't.
yeah. He's that's. I was just wondering if there were any muscats that you were like referencing in your that you tasted
I'll be honest,
recently.
I don't drink a lot of Muscat.
Oh, it's-
It's one of those, like I said before, kind of things that Jared had said that stick with me. Like I remember talking to him years and years ago, and he was telling me about a friend in France that inherited a vineyard. I forget the varietal, but it was some like not desirable, and they were able to turn it into an amazing wine.
Hmm.
And he was saying like, that's impressive when you can take something and then, and so I always kind of refer back to, I was like, okay, what can we do with the orange muscat to showcase it and accentuate it and make it something that people really will gravitate toward?
Mhm.
Because now it's intriguing, it's exciting, and not just a sweet dessert one that's going over here,
Yeah.
like, and so those little things kind of keep coming back as I think about making the wine, what to do with it, and not as necessarily like I want to make this Grand Cru Muscat. That's not going to happen. But let's make something great out of it. It's grown. It's there. It's got a lot of great qualities. It's on my list of things to get to. I've got 2 barrels. We went to make a late harvest orange muscat.
Oh, nice.
But didn't pick it late enough, and then went to arrest fermentation with some high proof, but didn't use enough.
Okay.
So we have a very alcoholic, dry orange muscat.
Okay.
But I was like, well, we're halfway to vermouth at this point, so I want to experiment and do a single estate using everything on the property as adjuncts for the vermouth. Like we've got myrtle up front, I've got Buddha's hand, I have citrus, we have stone fruit, I've got artichokes. I think it'd be really cool to make a fun vermouth with all the other things that I've got growing here on the farm. I've heard it can be tricky to get the artichoke as a bittering agent.
Okay.
They get really bitter. So I need to get some high proof to start playing around with some tinctures and but I'm so behind in the vineyard. I haven't had time to
another
add it to the list.
It's on the list, and I think it could be really cool and fun. But maybe it'll sit in barrel until next year, and we'll play with it then. But another thing, the muscat could be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is there anything we've kind of missed or like glanced over that you wanted to talk about?
I don't think so. I feel like you guys are pretty comprehensive.
Well, I guess where can folks track down the wines to buy them from you?
The visitor center.
Besides the visitor center, yes.
We're not in a lot of retail. We have our online store, which we ship in California. The house wines at Little Ripper and Perpetu are some fun things if you're dining there. Yeah, I mean, right now either the visitor center or really our online store the best ways.
There's 2 good places.
So
we're really just starting to get out into the market.
Yeah.
What's your production curve looking like? You said you had 300 cases.
We made
roughly.
too much.
Oh, you made, so you're gonna
we went from 300 to 900.
Oh wow, okay.
But part of that, we had that new head train block come online last year. And so I had some new varietals to work with. And I think for 26, we're going to try to keep it at that same range. So maybe we had 125 cases that went to the house wine programs. So it's a good chunk.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but yeah, we'll see.
Thanks for the amazing tour
of course
today and
thanks for coming out
and sitting down here. Really appreciate it.
Beautiful place.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'll let you know when we get the muscat party going.
Yeah, notice I'll be there.
Thanks for listening today. Jake and Shauna are part of this new breed of small producer farming responsibly at a high level in Lodi. Some of the grape varieties that they grow have very few other organic sources in California, or sometimes none at all. The Heleje wines are always well-made, clean wines with minimal or occasionally no sulfur and help show what Lodi is capable of. The white wines especially deserve your attention in a region so famous for Zinfandel. You can follow them at Heleje Wine on Instagram. And please follow the podcast on wherever you're listening and the Instagram at Indie Wine Podcast. You can email indiewinepodcast@gmail.com or Instagram with comments, questions, or feedback. If you're enjoying the podcast, I'd love it if you told a friend or wine lover about it and help spread the word. Rating, reviewing, or donating at patreon.com/indiewinepodcast helps a lot too. It all goes to offsetting podcast expenses, keeps it ad-free, available for everyone, allows for more episodes, and helps support independent producers. We'll be back soon with another episode. Have a good one.
So we've it's kind of wild. We've lived here almost 11 years now in Lodi. Like, it doesn't seem like we left San Francisco that long ago. But,
Yeah.
And so for the first year, I was still working in the city. I bounced back and forth. I actually lived 2 nights a week in the Berkeley Marina on a sailboat.
Oh, wow.
It was pretty fun.
Okay.
It was cool for a year, but I had a 1-year-old, and it was just like, after a while, I was like, all right, we can't do this anymore. This is Ace. He's super friendly. Hi, Ace. Hi, Ace.
A lot of friendly dogs.
Yeah. And so our goal was to we'd been fortunate enough to own a house in San Francisco that we sold when we made the transition. We're like, all right, let's try to find some bare land. We want to move into the vineyard realm and winemaking at some point. And so we were trying to work that out. And in the meantime, we were living where we live now. That's my wife's grandparents. And so grandmother was still there and grandfather had passed, and it's a lot to maintain. And we'd been looking at stuff, and the idea was like, hey, my mom can't stay in this place anymore. You guys are in a position where you could actually buy it. Let's talk about this. And so we had the opportunity to buy that house, which was amazing.
Right, yeah.
And it was all orange muscat. So when you go back, you'll see it's a lot of orange muscat. Always go into Woodbridge, the giant winery we passed.
Okay.
As a sweet wine. And so we wanted to work with other varietals. And so it's like, okay, we have this, which someday we'll do something. But for now, let's replant. And this property, kind of long story. So that house there was built for my wife's grandmother. So she lived with us for about a year while this was under construction. Then she moved over here till she passed. But it was amazing because she had her own space. Family was close. The grandkids were constantly, because our nephews live here too. And so there was 5 rugrats always coming checking in on her. And so it was actually worked out really, really nicely.
Nice.
And so this was all bare out here. It had been Old Vine Carignan, which in the 90s, no one wanted. They weren't really into wine at the time.
Okay.
It was all flood irrigated. They did the pruning, it was just going into a blending thing. And so they had pulled it out. And so they'd always intended on replanting and never did. And in the meantime, it was just cover crop every year.
Okay.
So it was this cool idea of okay, wait, this has been bare with 0 chemical inputs at all for 25 years.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that you had the opportunity to take it over at that point, once it had been bare for quite a while.
Long time. And it was mustard and, we have horses in the back. And so occasionally they would try to grow alfalfa or some sort of grain for the horses. But they never used any chemicals on it. And so it was let's establish a vineyard organically from the get-go without anything synthetic, which was cool but also crazy. And so I had actually Jared and Tracy out, and it was bare, and we walked, and the girls rode horses, and we talked about, and Jared, they're we're looking Fiano, Greco, Italian whites, and he's Claret could do well, and so he gave a lot of advice, and I looked to him as a mentor. He's a great person, so knowledgeable. It's funny, I was thinking about it, there's so many little quotes that pop into my head and stick with me from him, whether it's farming or winemaking, that I kind of refer to as I go through this journey. But so we're all right, let's lay this out. And so, this is my first vineyard project. Laid it out, picked varietals that we knew should do well here, but you didn't really see them growing. And also things that, worst case scenario, we like to drink these wines. So if we make some wine out of it, at least we got something to drink ourselves, right? And so
A lot,
yes. In retrospect, I didn't know how much volume we were actually going to be producing. So it's broken up into 1.5 to 2 acre blocks. So we have Picpoul Blanc up front. This is the Claret Blanche. And then we kind of walk around the page. But it was cool because we put it in, we dug soil pits. I made some mistakes. Number one, the drip line was way too low for trying to do undervine cultivation successfully without breaking lots of things.
Okay.
But I didn't know any better at that point because we're not spraying. Most people get their height, they just spray the berm and off you go. But we have undervine blades, different mowers that we use, and over time, we've stopped using them and let the grasses just come in, and then we'll do one weed whacking pass, and that's it.
Okay.
And the labor guys that are helping us actually do a lot of the planting, I remember the third year, he came out just holy shit, it's growing. He's I didn't think it was gonna make it. I was well, what do you mean? He's well, they're so slow, and I think, they're so used to that formulaic, like you put it in, you pump it full of fertilizer, pump it full of water, get this huge growth in the first couple of years to get a crop on that third year. And these guys, much slower, but I think we got a better established vine and healthier vine as a result of it.
Mm-hmm.
The other mistake I learned, I didn't know much about rootstock. And so we dug pits. So we've got about 3.5 to 4 feet of that sandy loam that Lodi is known for.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you go further north, you start hitting clay.
Okay.
And like you get the Alta Mesa, Borden Ranch, you've got hardpan. But we're close enough to the river, so like that tree line over there is the Collier River. And like the famous Oxbow area is just right there. So just on the other side.
That's like where McCulmey Glen
McCulmey
is.
Glen and
Like
Kirschman and Bedrocks.
Bedrock,
yeah. So that's right there. So
Bokish also. Yes, right? Yeah. Okay.
So we're just on the north side of that. So the south side of it, super deep sand, like really cool site.
Mm-hmm.
Here, same great site, just we've got that clay.
Yeah.
And when we dug the pits, we see roots going through it. So we're like, okay, it's not hardpan. We can get growth pushing through it. It's actually really cool to kind of push some intense aromatics in the vines. Like, let's leave it. And so we did a really shallow ripping initially. But when the nursery guy saw the soil results and saw the clay, he thought hardpan. And so this is on 10114, which is a great rootstock, but it needs a ton of water. And instead of going super deep, it goes wide.
Okay.
Everything but the Grant Gonfiano. But we did something kind of wacky. So we irrigate off-grid solar.
Oh, okay.
So I'll show you the array and the pumps there. So it's taken a while to kind of work out how much water we put on, and I do a rotation during the growing season. It hasn't started yet because, as you see, we don't even need it. The vines are going wild right now. But I water during the daytime when the sun is out, pumping the pump. And so I'm able to kind of put a weekly 12-hour dose on it without overwatering. And so it took a while to figure out, like, okay. And the Fiano Greco block, I don't do those guys once a week because they're on 1103P and St. George. So much more drought tolerant, deeper rooting. And you'll see the difference in the growth too. I mean, like I started hedging and cutting the Fiano yesterday because it's already going insane. Yeah. So then laying it out, well, we'll just do these blocks and split them. I made a mistake back there where I kind of did a continuous row of whites to reds, which I then had to pull vines out and put end posts in and realize, okay, that didn't work. So then we have the narrow. Narrow to Avila.
Yeah.
Loves it here in Lodi. Great acid in this fruit. Thrives in the heat. As you see, they're super wild. What I've been doing is like keep the canopies really open this time of year. Lots of sun exposure. I don't do any sulfur dusting or any mildew mitigation.
Okay.
And
is that the heat issue out here that you don't have that problem because of the heat, or what?
Well, some varietals do. Oftentimes it's formulaic. Like conventionally, farmers look at the calendar, they look at the mildew index, and you start applying. I was like, okay, but why? I'm like, well, that's just what you do. And so I wanted to get a baseline of like, okay, what if we don't? And it was, early in that like safe to fail kind of like, okay, let's experiment, let's try it. And so the first year it was like, okay, we didn't do any and there's no issues.
Yeah.
So let's do it again. Let's see next year. And so we're going on 8 years here without any. And then at our house with the orange muscat and the new plantings, we're on year 2. Same. Like, I'm not seeing any issues. I think a lot of it is leaving the canopy open. You get a lot of sunlight. And then the winds come up every day. And our orientation east-west, it just goes right through. Keeps everything dry.
Because it feels like last year would have been a year.
Yeah.
A lot of people had issues with mildew last year.
The only mildew issue I had is there's the first row of pick pool, which is next to a house, and the sprinklers were getting it.
No. So did you think of that when you designed the vineyard of the wind flow?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean it's uncanny. Every afternoon that wind kicks up, and it just gets ripping. Our house even more so because it's more open. and we're a little bit closer to the delta.
Okay.
So, but with that, that diurnal shift happens, we have the hot days, it cools off in the evenings, and really retains acid. Like, we're picking this at 23 bricks with a 3.1 pH, which is crazy. And it was cool because, like, with the Fiano and Greco, talking to Jared the first year we brought fruit in, and he was like, I'm amazed at the acidity that this fruit retains. He's like, I've always discounted Lodi as overripe, kind of flabby, and he's like, I'm not seeing that at all. And I think some of that too is the no-till. We're able to keep the surface temperature lower, and so in the evenings, like I'll do it with our kids to get them to kind of feel it. Like, it's really neat when it cools down on a hot day. The temperature transition from, like, say, the front yard of the house, you walk into the vineyard and it just drops. And like, you can physically feel it as you walk into the field, which is pretty cool. So then we shift into Mourvedre here, a more upright habit, and then a little teeny tiny block of Grenache Noir on the end. And so that was kind of a extra, because when I laid it out, did all my measurements, ordered the vines, then the crew professionals came in. They laid it out, and I had extra rows. I was like, oh, well, crap. I must have measured it correctly. So I'm like, well, I like Grenache. So we put this little teeny block. And for me, that's super fun. So it's 70 vines. I've planted it all. I've done all the work. We handpick it all, my wife and I, like, every year, and it yields us one barrel.
Yeah.
And that one barrel's delicious, but I blend it into a Mourvedre.
Okay. I was going to say, is that family barrel or?
No, it rolls into a blend.
Okay.
Just because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But it's a fun project on its own. And then the Grenache did well, and so I planted another 2 acres. So yeah, for the foolery there, my father-in-law is super into, like, energy independence. So this whole property is all run solar, backup batteries. It all is grid tied. And then we have done the same thing at our house. And then the idea was, like, let's do this completely on its own, self-contained. And so the pumps are designed for cattle ranches. So, like, backcountry watering troughs for cattle.
Okay.
And so we were able to calculate, okay, if we get 2 of them, stack them in line, we'll get enough volume to do 1 block at a time. And so I can't irrigate everything at once or even half. It's 1 block at a time, and it's all manual. So I've got hand valves, you can see them here. And so it's just kind of a daily rotation. You come out, pop that one on, the next day you roll into the next. And, so it's kind of a labor of love in that way. But it's cool. And I mean, it really does work. And, we're really trying to do something that's sustainable. And I think if you're going to irrigate, this is kind of your best option as far as, like, a sustainable irrigation goes. Fiano and Greco. Fiano, I fell in love with the first time I had it was Brian Harrington had a version that was unsulfured. Been working with him on his project bringing grapes in. So I've got 12 varieties right now from him.
Amazing.
In experimental stages. So I'll show you that over at our house.
Okay.
But yeah, so I love Fiano. Then when Jared, he's like, dude, Fiano, Greco, like, I'm looking for Italian whites. I'm like, sweet. So this was the first block we planted. We did this in the fall, and then the rest of this was planted in the spring. And so it's amazing. Like, the growth is, like I said, I've already come through and hedged these, but as you see, like, it's just going wild. It loves it here. Rise in the heat. And then the fruit, I think it's really delicious.
And what year is that again?
Like 2018.
So was Jared already out here looking at this area at that time?
So I had him and Tracy come out when this was just there.
Yeah.
And look at it and say, like, I'm looking at plants. And the idea was, we've got these relationships with these amazing producers in the Bay Area from the restaurant world where we used to buy their wines and do events. And I know they're always talking about there's not enough organic fruit out there. They're looking for more fruit. And so it's like, well, we could plant this, work with these guys, get them things that they're looking for. And then at some point, the intent was to start a small brand. It took me a lot longer than I had initially planned, but that happens.
One thing at a time.
And so this, the Greco Bianco. So we thought it was Greco di Tufo when we planted it, but turns out it's actually Greco Bianco, which is different.
Okay. Is that an FPS kind of thing, or?
And so like the Greco di Tufo is a little bit lighter colored wine, a little fruitier characteristic. This, like, have you tried the Dunkin' Goat?
I have, yes.
It's like almost drinks like an orange wine, like it had skin contact. It doesn't. Really tiny clusters, super acidic, super bright, really thin skin. And so like as you're picking it, it's already juicing out in the bins, and but really delicious. And second crop will hang in November, and I'll come through here and like munch on them, and they're amazing. So it's a really cool vine. The growth habit is super strappy, long, drapes down. I'll actually, before we come through at harvest, I have to come and hedge anything that's low because the wheels will get caught up in there. But it's cool. Like it reminds me of the cousin It and the Addams Family that had the hair just coming down.
Yeah.
Like with the weight of the fruit, and at the end, like the Fiano's all high, and this is just like parted and down, and it's just like even level, and it creates these little pockets under here that are just super open and shaded, and then the fruits all. It's a cool varietal. Really happy with it. I actually have another 5 rows that I was grafted over at our house. That are head trained, but I'm trying to figure out a pergola system. I want to pergola it because this growth habit is such that I think if you were able to get it up, it would create this seamless arch with all the fruit hanging underneath.
Oh, very cool.
Which would be awesome. But budget's a key factor there. It's a lot of material to build.
And are you doing most of this yourself?
I do all of it.
Team? You do all of it.
Well, I gotta take that back. So pruning, I do have a crew come through because I just can't do it all myself. And then we do suckering and a thinning pass earlier in the season to give established positions, clean it out. And I have a crew come through and do that. And then everything else is myself or my father-in-law. So, like this time of year, like I said, I started here with the tucking and trimming off the apical tips to kind of get some energy back down into the plant. So I'll do the Fiano first, then I'll roll into the Nero d'Avola. Like right now, the narrow canes are too delicate. If you go to tuck them, they snap off. So they got to lignify a little bit more. And so then I'll move into that. Then I'll do Counoise next in the back. And then fortunately, like the Maved, the Pickpool, and the the Claret have a very upright growth habit. And so I keep it pretty open until we start foration. And then I'll just go through a tuck. And then, we do a few mowing passes. We do livestock grazing in the wintertime. Got a great guy locally, Frankie. He's got a company called FU. And he's a third generation Basque shepherd. And great, like he also sells the lambs for food, which we got one last year. We did a dinner, and it's phenomenal. Really delicious. It's all hair sheep that they run. This year he had we had about 30 babies born over at our vineyard.
Really?
He was like, I've got all these bottle babies. You guys want one? And my kids were like, yes, we need 4 of them. No, we're not getting sheep right now, guys. Like, not yet. Maybe one day.
I saw chickens out there. How many other animals do you have?
At our house? We have chickens. We have rabbits, which we got for my daughter's birthday 2 years ago. We got 4 bunnies.
You have a lot more bunnies now?
They were supposed to be all females. Turns out one of them was not.
That's a classic bunny story.
At one point, we were up to 25. So we're down to 11 now. We've worked it out, got them all separated. We had one where we thought we had them separated, and it turns out we had one male incorrect and one female incorrect. So we had another round. But you learn. So I'm working on, it's low on my to-do list at the moment, but I want to be able to create a rabbit compost tea spray
Okay.
to use in the vineyard. So we've got a huge compost pile. This is my brother-in-law Jarrett. He's working on the garden.
Okay.
It's hot. We like drinking red wine, but in the summertime here when it's 102, you don't want a big red wine.
Yeah.
You want something light, fresh, chillable. And quinoa lends itself really well to that. But it also makes like a really structured, beautiful red wine too.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, this is a really fun. It's always our last bud break. Kind of alternates between the Mourvèdre and the quinoas, which one's our last pick also.
Okay.
But farmer-friendly varietal too. I mean, it's big clusters, big berries. We're consistently pulling 8 tons off of this block, which is a lot.
Yeah.
But the quality's really, really high.
And how many people source from this? Is it just you?
So it's us, Leloon, they've been using it consistently, and Donkey Go used it a little bit. Chris up at End of Nowhere, Chris Walsh, he works with our fruit quite a bit. And he's just 30 minutes up the hill. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. And he is cool. We did the Unfiltered event.
Yeah.
We were at the same table.
Yeah.
And so he had his quinoas, which was from 23. We had our quinoas from 24.
Okay.
2 different vintages, same vineyard. And as guests were coming up, it was like tasting, side by side, and they're completely different wines.
Yeah.
And it was a really cool experience for the guests to be able to, try them differently. And I'd say it's equal mix, like 50% liked ours, 50% liked his.
Yeah.
Which was like, it's awesome. Yeah. That's what you want, right? So yeah, it's a cool thing to be able to work with so many people that were friends. Now from the restaurant capacity and the wine. And then the other part of the ranch is horses. So
Okay.
a bunch of horses here. We will use manure in the vineyard.
Yeah.
So every couple years we'll go through and spread the older manure because as it composts, it doesn't get hot enough to break down a lot of the weed seeds, and so give it longer time, it'll break it down. So we try to go for like the 8 to 10 year piles.
Okay.
Wow. It takes a while, yeah.
Wow.
And so then we'll just broadcast it through and do a really shallow disking to incorporate it into that topsoil. And I try to time it right before rain.
Okay.
It's funny. So that's the cool thing about rabbit, as I've been researching. You can use it immediately.
Oh, really?
It's not hot at all like chicken or even steer and horse. It has to break down before you can use it, or else it can actually harm the plants. Where rabbit, you can right away. So like our orchard at home, I mulched all underneath this year, and then we have a very large pile of rabbit manure, wood shavings, and hay. And so I'm trying to work out a system where I can scale it in volume, make a compost tea, and then either do it as a soil spray or a foliar spray.
Okay.
And add different things like a little molasses for the soil and maybe some blood meal or bone meal for the canopy.
Oh, okay.
But I need to build a bubbler and figure out how to strain it to get it into the sprayer. So it's on the list of things I'm working on, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
It's a big list.